Jungkook couldn't stay silent. Taehyung looked unreal at Paris Fashion Week. When Paris Fashion Week is already buzzing with the names of designers, editors, and global ambassadors, the last thing anyone expects is for the headlines to shift because of one sentence. Yet, that is exactly what happened when Jungkook broke his silence and publicly praised Kim Taehyung, V of BTS, after his dazzling appearance at Celine's Été 2026 showcase. With just a few words, Taehyung looked unreal at Paris Fashion Week. Jungkook turned a luxury fashion event into a viral pop culture storm, one so powerful that even major US outlets rushed to cover the moment. The Celine show, held in Paris on October 5th, was already a spectacle. V, newly returned from military service, had the kind of presence that even the Parisian elite couldn't ignore. His sharp jawline, his confident stride, the way he carried the brand's latest silhouettes, it was all enough to make fashion insiders gasp. But it wasn't until Jungkook added his voice to the chorus that the entire world seemed to stop scrolling and start talking.
Why?
Because Jungkook rarely comments directly on another member's fashion moments, and when he does, it carries weight far beyond fan chatter. Almost immediately, ARMY turned Jungkook's statement into a trending hashtag. Taehyung looked unreal flooded Twitter, Instagram captions, and TikTok edits, with fans replaying V's entrance on loop alongside Jungkook's words. American media outlets like Variety and People were quick to pick up the story, framing it as more than just a compliment. It was brotherhood, validation, and a reminder of BTS's cultural dominance even in their individual pursuits. Some commentators even suggested that Jungkook's praise elevated V's moment, signaling to the global market that this wasn't just fashion, it was history in the making. But there was another layer of intrigue. Why now? Just days earlier, Jungkook had remained silent as speculation swirled about his reaction to V's trip to Paris. Fans worried that his quietness might be a sign of distance. But with one simple acknowledgement, Jungkook didn't just end the rumors, he flipped the narrative entirely. Suddenly, the story wasn't about his silence, but about his admiration. And in typical Jungkook fashion, he didn't just compliment V, he amplified him. Critics called it a masterstroke of timing. Fashion journalists noted that V's presence at Celine already had the industry's attention, but Jungkook's public recognition brought the kind of viral energy that no PR campaign could buy. Together, they blurred the line between music and fashion, Korea and Paris, brotherhood and stardom. It wasn't just a compliment, it was a cultural flashpoint. Now, fans are asking, was this moment spontaneous, or was it the start of something bigger? Could Jungkook and V be preparing for a joint appearance? Perhaps even a fashion collaboration that blends their individual strengths? Or was it simply what it seemed to be? A younger brother marveling at his young's surreal presence on one of the biggest stages in the world. Whatever the truth, one thing is undeniable. Paris may have hosted the show, but Jungkook's words ensured that it became a global event. The simplicity of Jungkook's words masked a deeper, almost cinematic resonance. For ARMY, this wasn't just a casual comment, it was a crackling spark of brotherhood, a moment that felt like a bridge between what BTS was, what they are as individuals, and what they might become together again. When Jungkook openly marveled at Taehyung's visuals, it wasn't only a compliment, it was a declaration that no matter how separate their careers might seem right now, their bond is still intact and undeniable. The global media pounced on the sentiment. Billboard described it as a glimpse of BTS unity wrapped in a fashion headline. Vogue went further, suggesting that Jungkook's praise elevated Taehyung's Celine appearance into a story of fraternal support that transcends fashion. Even the New York Times joined the chorus, questioning whether this single statement was a teaser for a new kind of BTS comeback narrative, one that begins not on stage, but on the runway. Speculation grew feverishly online. Could BTS be planning to use fashion as the opening act of their reunion? After all, Fashion Week stages aren't just about clothes anymore. They are cultural crossroads where music, art, and media collide. What better way to announce a new era of BTS than by blurring lines between industries, showing up not as idols returning to reclaim their throne, but as global icons rewriting what it means to dominate culture? Some fans theorized Jungkook's comment was too perfectly timed to be accidental. Days earlier, Taehyung had set Paris ablaze with his return to Celine, drawing comparisons to his pre-enlistment era when Anna Wintour herself acknowledged him as a rising fashion powerhouse. By stepping in at that exact moment with a viral statement, Jungkook effectively stamped Taehyung's success with the BTS seal of approval. Together, they created a double shockwave, one in fashion, one in fandom. But what if this moment is also a prelude? Imagine early 2026, with BTS set to reunite musically. What if the story begins here, in Paris, with members appearing at Dior, Celine, and Louis Vuitton shows, not separately but sequentially, creating a breadcrumb trail that leads to a stage? Could Jungkook's praise of Taehyung be more than admiration? Could it be foreshadowing, an opening chapter to a grander narrative? Fans already imagine the visual. Jungkook, Jimin, and Taehyung walking different runways, each representing their brands, and then all seven standing together in one explosive reveal. A fusion of fashion week and concert, a spectacle that only BTS could pull off. It would be the kind of cultural coup that transcends music charts and cements them as global leaders of not just one industry, but many. For now, what we have is a single quote. But that single quote has done what BTS has always done best: ignite conversations, stir speculation, and turn an ordinary moment into a global event. Jungkook may have just been praising his brother's visuals, but to fans and media alike, it sounded like something much bigger. The whisper of BTS's future. Speculation swelled to a fever pitch as ARMY began connecting that others might dismiss as coincidence. To them, BTS has never done anything by accident. Every word, every silence, every glance often feels orchestrated as part of a larger story. So when Jungkook broke his silence to praise Taehyung's surreal presence at Paris Fashion Week, it wasn't just another moment of support. It was, in the eyes of millions, a narrative trigger. For over a year, fans have waited for clues about BTS's post-military trajectory. Each member has carved out solo achievements: Jimin's chart-topping ballads, RM's critically acclaimed projects, Jin's emotional return to fans, Suga's bold production work, J-Hope's dance artistry, V's fashion dominance, and Jungkook's status as a global pop juggernaut. But one question remains unanswered: how and when will they come together again? Could it be that their reunion story begins not with a surprise single drop, but with moments like this? Fashion shows, casual comments, and sudden bursts of public admiration? Imagine the symbolism. Taehyung dazzling Paris under Celine's spotlight, then Jungkook stepping in to frame the moment with words powerful enough to trend worldwide. If we see Jimin echoing a similar sentiment at Dior, or RM speaking about Jin's charisma at a global stage, fans might not just see individual members thriving, they might see puzzle pieces quietly locking back into place. Western media certainly seems to believe something bigger is brewing. Rolling Stone argued that Jungkook's statement transformed Taehyung's Paris moment from a fashion headline into a cultural teaser, while Billboard hinted that BTS's narrative control has always been their greatest strength. If BTS is to return, the article noted, they will not return quietly. They will return in a way that makes the entire world stop and stare. And then comes the tantalizing theory. What if this entire sequence, the airport chaos, the Paris spotlight, Jungkook's viral comment, is part of a pre-reunion choreography designed to condition the world? Fashion becomes the stage before the stage, a glamorous prelude to a musical thunderstorm waiting to break. For ARMY, the silence before the storm is deafening. Jungkook's comment may feel like a small thread, but in the BTS universe, threads weave into tapestries, and tapestries often reveal more than anyone expects. The fandom's question now isn't whether BTS will reunite. It's whether Paris 2025 will be remembered years later as the quiet opening act of a comeback that redefined what a pop group could be. It didn't take long for international media to catch on. While Korean outlets were quick to amplify Jungkook's words, framing them as proof of the unshakable bond between BTS members, American and European press took a different angle, suggesting that this was more than casual admiration. Billboard wrote that Jungkook's praise arrives at a curious time, noting how BTS's complete return from military service has reignited rumors of a full-scale reunion in 2026. Jungkook has never been careless with his words, the piece pointed out. His decision to highlight Taehyung's Paris presence feels less like spontaneity and more like a deliberate spark in a larger storyline. Meanwhile, Variety hinted at hidden codes within BTS's public appearances, suggesting that Fashion Week moments are functioning as teasers for what's to come. They even compared it to Marvel's post-credit scenes, brief, casual moments that ultimately reveal something monumental when pieced together. Korean entertainment analysts echoed the sentiment, observing that Big Hit and HYB are masters of timing. The appearing in Paris as a Celine icon, Jimin dominating Dior, Jungkook re-emerging on TikTok, and Jin making surprise fan appearances. It all feels like scattered puzzle pieces waiting to form a picture. And with Jungkook's comment exploding into headlines, that picture suddenly looks clearer. Fans, of course, wasted no time in pushing the narrative forward. On Twitter and Weverse, hashtags like hashtag BTS Code 2026, hashtag Taehyung Paris, and hashtag Bangtan Rising trended, with theories ranging from a surprise group single before year's end to a grand reunion tour announcement at the start of 2026. Some even speculated that Jungkook's Unreal comment could be a sly nod to an upcoming concept theme, unreal visuals, unreal stages, unreal returns, and perhaps that's the real genius of BTS. Their ability to turn the simplest gestures, a look, a smile, a sentence, into movements that shake entire industries. Because when Jungkook says Taehyung looked unreal, the world doesn't just hear a compliment. The world hears a signal. Rumors of a hidden comeback code only intensified when fans began connecting that, on the surface, seemed coincidental. But in BTS's universe, coincidences rarely exist. Jungkook's TikTok revival on October 1st, Jimin's Dior moment on October 2nd, and Taehyung's dazzling Celine appearance on October 4th, all within the same week, felt almost too orchestrated. On Korean variety programs, commentators suggested that HYB may be rolling out a fashion trilogy teaser, using luxury stages as platforms to announce BTS's new era. One analyst described it as a soft comeback disguised as cultural dominance, pointing out how BTS members are reclaiming headlines globally without releasing a single track. If this is just the warm-up, he said, imagine what the actual comeback will look like. International media echoed the theory. Rolling Stone hinted that Jungkook's Unreal compliment could function as a slogan, possibly tied to an album or tour theme, something along the lines of BTS. Unreal, symbolizing both their superhuman artistry and the surreal experience of their return. Fans on Reddit dissected this further, arguing that the word unreal might connect to a hidden lyric snippet or even a concept trailer waiting to drop. Meanwhile, Paris itself became a living backdrop for ARMY speculation. As Dior, Celine, and Paris Fashion Week dominated global feeds, hashtags like hashtag Unreal Paris, hashtag Bangtan Back, and hashtag Team Unreal surged. Every camera flash that caught Taehyung's sculpted visuals was reinterpreted as part of a grand design, with Jungkook's voice serving as the missing bridge. Some ARMYs believe Jungkook's statement was more than admiration, it was permission. Permission to start screaming, speculating, and preparing for BTS's return. And if history has proven anything, it's that once Jungkook speaks, the world listens. It didn't take long before American outlets escalated the narrative, drawing comparisons so grand that even seasoned cultural critics were left stunned. The New York Times ran a headline that read, "Paris becomes the new Abbey Road. BTS Fashion Week frenzy mirrors the Beatles era." The article argued that the sight of ARMYs flooding Parisian streets, screaming and waving light sticks outside the Celine show, felt eerily reminiscent of Beatlemania. Only this time, it wasn't guitars and microphones pulling the frenzy, but Dior suits, Celine blazers, and Jungkook's words echoing through every social feed. Variety noted how the cultural power of BTS has transcended music to become something much bigger, a fashion-fueled movement where luxury houses beg for their presence, not the other way around. They pointed out that Meta's multi-billion-dollar tech collaborations and Hollywood's red carpets were forced to take a backseat because Taehyung's cheekbones and Jungkook's Unreal remark created the kind of global buzz no press release could be wide, in the US. Late-night talk shows picked up the story too. On The Tonight Show, the host jokingly said, "If Jungkook says Taehyung is unreal, then I guess the rest of us don't even exist." The crowd erupted in laughter, but the underlying truth was clear. Jungkook's casual remark had become international news, dominating not just fan spaces, but mainstream conversation. What fascinated analysts most was how seamless the momentum felt. Within 3 days, Jungkook had revived TikTok, Jimin had lit up Dior, and Taehyung had owned Paris. And now, with Jungkook's voice sealing the moment, the US press couldn't help but label it a historic cultural phenomenon, calling it the Fashion Week takeover. ARMY forums are already buzzing with a new nickname, the Unreal Era. Some believe it's accidental, others are convinced it's intentional branding from HYB. Either way, the comparison to the Beatles wasn't just flattery, it was a warning to the industry. BTS wasn't easing back into the spotlight. They were rewriting the rules of global stardom all over again.